didn't mess with those.
The other person that I'd like to, well, I get it wrong. I have a lot of respect for Dick now. Getting up at all these athletic award banquets and having to speak because this is my first time. And I'm probably going to goof it up, but you know what? Who cares? We're out here. Okay. First, I would like to applaud Dick for being a legend in basketball. Once you've been around as long as he has in this business, he is known as the triple threat. Because at any time, he could have a stroke, a heart attack, or just pass out. But let's not talk about health issues right now. Dick is a little embarrassed about this whole thing, this gathering tonight. But I assure him not to worry, because no one's going to hurt you. Because no one's going to remember him around here after he's gone. Because nothing's going to be named after him like that coach up at Hines. Namely because no one could ever spell or pronounce our name right. And the only trophy he ever won at Wittenberg after 4 years was most improved, and they gave him a trophy with the name on it, Schlitz.
That's true.
Now, dear, I don't want to tell you how to live your life, but why don't you come up here and sit down? You can't take your cards with you. Okay. Like I said, I don't want to tell you how to live your life, but if you had spent half the time grading those basketball films, or running practices, or coaching games, you'd have been a president of this college by now. But you're still all over Kalamazoo. I see kids wearing your t-shirts all the time with KDCC Dick Shilts basketball camps on their backs. And I know you even published a book. However, Amazon.com said customers who bought this book also bought a rope and a stool. So they refuse to sell it anymore. So I guess you're going to get stuck with all those extra 200 or 300 books on our back porch. Well, we all know how much Dick loves Pope, right?
Yes.
Okay. So he still tries to stay in shape. You saw on the film of his basketball buddies that he plays with a couple times a week. However, he's not as fast as he used to be. But if you'd like to see him win a sprint in record time, just put a bottle of Coke at one end of the gym floor and he'll be the first to get there fast. Okay. Well, I think after 4 surgeries in 5 years here, maybe it's time to retire. So tonight you're going to leave your stamp on this college. Once your retirement's due, you'll probably have to use it to buy food. So let's get on with the program, okay? I said all my wrestling. That's nothing. I got that in Comedy Night Live. I inserted your line. I am no good at this.
You're doing okay.
Good thing I write these notes. Okay. All right. Where am I? Okay. I do want you to know, though, the gentleman who's doing the videotaping tonight, he is going to make some copies in case any of you want to see your beautiful faces. Okay, our first coach this evening, who was on the video, you probably didn't notice at the very first of that when it showed Dick's high school days. Flat tops are back in. Then he went to Wadsworth High School, where he was there for 3 years, and his very first assistant coach, who drove here today with his wife 300 miles and made it. Can you believe loyalty after all these years? And he was a history teacher with Dick at Wadsworth High School. He was his first assistant coach. They both played so much softball, I can attest. I sat on many bleachers watching these two guys play softball after softball game. And he's still pretty athletic. So without further ado, Phil Horaceberger is here with his lovely wife, Barbara.
Be nice.
Is this on? It's on. Carol told me I had a minute and a half or 2 minutes. I think she took most of that. I'd like to start off by saying that it is indeed a privilege to be here tonight. I count it a privilege to have known Dick. We were very, very close friends for 3 years, and then we divorced. He moved to Michigan, and we won't go there, okay? It was 1965, 66. Dick Shilts got a teaching job at Wadsworth, and I think I was in my 3rd year of teaching, and we got to be great friends, and so much so that we practically knew what we were going to say to each other. I'd like to relate, you know, Dick moved very rapidly on the basketball floor, but there were times in his life, I assure you, he did not move very fast at all. I would like to share one of those moments. It was October 6th? October 6th. Friday. We're going to get to the 7th. Okay. October 6th, 1966, 67. She would know, believe me. It was on a Friday evening, and Dick and I and Carol, and probably Barb was with us as well. But anyhow, Dick and Carol had a trailer. Back in the old days, you didn't start out with a 4-bedroom, 3-bath, 3-car garage. I'm telling you that. So they had a trailer, and Carol was pregnant. But we went out and we had a good time. But anyhow, Dick and Carol invited me to stay overnight at the trailer. So why not? I was single. I didn't have any responsibilities. I didn't have to get up Saturday morning. About 2 o'clock in the morning, Carol goes into labor. Now, Dick, you would think, had all the time in the world to get Carol to the hospital. So he decides he's got to go in and shave before he takes her to the hospital. I'm out in the dining room of the trailer with Carol, okay? What's the matter with this picture? And Dick's in shaving, and I'm telling you, it took him, it seemed like 2 hours to shave. I thought I was going to have to deliver Sherry. I'm being very nice, you know that. About 4 o'clock, Dick got Carol to the hospital, and about 2 hours later, Dick came home. I said, well, did you have the baby? He said, yep. I said, how long ago? He said, about 45 minutes ago. He went in, took a shower, and we headed for Ashland for a cross-country meet. Talk about priorities. On a more serious note, I would just like to once again thank Dick for being a friend, and I've truly missed him since he moved away in 1969. But what a great person. Talk about integrity, talk about character. He was a great teacher, and I've often wondered, what if? But that's for another day. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, that was pretty tense, I want to tell you. I was biting on a towel and going in labor pains. Phil's panicking, he's a single guy, and there I am. You know, it's like, thanks, Dick. You know, but the doctor had assured him when he called the doctor, don't have to hurry because the first baby, it usually takes 12 hours, so you got plenty of time. I gotta hang that doctor. I had that baby in 4 hours. It's like, whoa! So, yeah, Phil was right. That was tense. So don't always trust your doctor. Sherry was in a big hurry to get here, right? Okay. All right. The next person, well, after he was at Wadsworth, he taught English there and was one of the sponsors for the National Honor Society. Had lots of papers to grade, lots of nights where we didn't talk because he was grading papers and papers and papers. English teaching is not that easy. Okay, the next person we're going to have come forth is Eldon Miller. When Dick left Wadsworth, Eldon Miller brought him to Western.
I think his whole thing's a little much. Carol asked me to, if I could say something. I spent 2 days trying to figure out if there's anything I could say. This really should be about Carol. That's the first thing I can tell. But I don't know if anybody goes back farther other than Carol in the room with Dick than I do. But we go back a long time. I got to coaching for 4 years. I was a JV coach when he was a JV player. But we have some things in common. Both of us are products of the Ray Mears era at Wittenberg. Both of us were the beneficiaries of that. Dick only had 1 year with Ray. But let me tell you something, if you spend a week with Ray, that's all you need. You had it figured out what was expected. So we both kind of benefited from that. And, there was a period of time, and, I coached Dick. Dick was my point guard for 3 years when I was the head coach there. And when I was coaching Dick, I thought he was the slowest point guard I'd ever coached. But since that time, I want you to know that he's the slowest point guard I've ever seen in 40 years. And this at Wittenberg, he was the most improved player award. Listen, if you started where he did, being the most improved, it wasn't that difficult. I don't have much time. Got my buddies here from Western Michigan, some players, managers, Char and Suds, and Dick and I worked like hell for 6 years to get a program that was really competitive. And all the guys that did that left, and they hired him. I wish he'd have come with me, because there's no way that any human being could duplicate what we built together with the help of a lot of people over 6 years. The only way he would have had a chance to do that if he'd had a 5-year contract. That's the only way he would have had a chance. But it was their law. I never really worried much about Dick. When I got the Western Michigan job, I knew who I wanted to be my assistant. And while he may have been the slowest point guard, he also had a 3-to-1 assist-to-turnover ratio. The guys I'm coaching right now think they have to get a lot of them. They're going to run out of turnovers in the future, so they're trying to get a lot of them now. But you saw that picture of my broken nose from my racquetball game with you. And when you hire somebody, it's really important who you put on the team. You have to have somebody who you know what they're going to do. There can't be any questions in your mind. there were no questions in my mind. If you spent 30 minutes with Dick Shilts, you knew who he was. You knew who he was, and you knew it wasn't going to waver. I spent 4 years with him. So I had a pretty good idea that I wanted him on my team. The fact of the matter is, he's on a little bigger team than mine. He's one of God's soldiers. And a lot of us attend church, have Christian faith. It's easy to talk about. It's a huge challenge to walk it every day. And I don't want to build him up too much. He's still pretty human in my mind. But he walks that walk as well as any human being can do it. Now, he was always bringing me quotes. He's a master of the quotes. Let me tell you something, Coach. You're a great fan of Wooden. If you had Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and Walton, you could write a few quotes too. But you did. And I looked at this list of your favorite quotes. There's one here that strikes me. Young people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. That's Dick Shilts. Thanks for what you stand for. Love you.
I got another story to tell you about Eldon Miller. On the night our second daughter was born, guess who took me to the hospital? Eldon Miller. My poor daughter Terry thought for the longest time Eldon Miller was her father. I'm telling you. He was the only coach with a pregnant wife, and he got sent on the recruiting trip. What's the matter with that picture? Oh, well, good luck, Betsy Dennis. Betsy's pregnant right now. You didn't get that joke, okay. The next person, who was Dick's assistant at Western Michigan University, is Doug Tages. He resides in Grand Rapids, or Granville right now. He's here with his wife, Linda. And I'd like him to come forward. They all have good stories to tell about him.
I need to do this early.
I'm going to put this here for you so you can have your hands free. And then it'll, because you got to almost be that close. Put it here. Let's put a lapel mic on you. Dick's leaving.
Where are you going, Dick? Carol called me and said Dick's retiring, and that usually means more golf. And in fact, he's playing 100 holes Monday with Ricky. So those of you know that have contributed to the FCA golf outings, Dick religiously plays 100 holes a year. So he said Tuesday he may need an ambulance to get him out of bed. But Carol asked, given this new retirement thing with golf, that I fix his golf game. How many of you played golf with Dick here? Probably a lot of you. I said, just talking about golf is going to be funny in itself, but then when you think of Dick's game, I brought some ammunition, I brought some changes in your equipment, Dick. Most of you have Golf Channel. If you've got the Golf Channel on your television, do you have a television in your bedroom? We're all set. What you do, Dick, is you turn the television on Golf Channel and you let it run all night. Just low volume, Carol, it won't bother you, but you just keep it running night after night after night, and whatever they play, whatever swing fixes they have, you'll get better, trust me. So that's number one fix. Secondly, I've heard you had the yips on the green, so as you get older, you're going to need a taller putter. So why don't you stand up and see if that fits?
That's good.
So the yips will go away with that, so you keep that and get ready. Now, the other thing that playing golf with Dick, he's very competitive, which anybody who's played knows, but he loves to try to break 40. And I've seen him on the 9th tee several times. He needed a par to break 40. And he has a tendency to snap hook. If you've ever played with him, you don't want to stand on the left side, because he gets up on that front foot and wham, that thing will go out of bounds. One day I was playing with him. He hit literally, he needed a 4 to break 40. He hit 3 in a row out of bounds. And I'll tell you what, it got quiet on the tee after that. I didn't say a word. I was trying not to smile, I was trying not to laugh, but Dick, he never swore. He just groused a little bit, and that was one of those moments. But I brought something that'll fix that, Dick. If you've got a 4 to get conservative on that last tee. Now this is a shorter club, so you're not going to make as many mistakes with it. It's a wooden head that'll actually get the thing right down the center. So get conservative on that last tee. And then, if all else fails, just bring a lot of ammunition. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate it, guys. Thank you.
That was great. My father played a lot of golf with Dick. And he used to make one remark about Dick. He would say, Richard, you can hit the ball 300 yards, but you don't putt 300 yards. My dad was an excellent putter. And they had some great rounds together. So thanks for bringing that back to mind, Doug. I hope he'll play some golf with me this year. I've only beat him twice in all of our golfing. You're looking for your
Tell him that.
He was having a bad round and I was having a great round. So at least I can say I beat him once, or twice. I can't remember. I'm getting too old. Okay. Twice. Oh, thank you, dear. All right, the next person is on your program. Is Rick Perry. He's currently the principal at Portage Central High School. He's the father of twins, and he was Dick's very first voluntary assistant at KVCC. And he's here with his wife, Kim.
Actually, I'm the assistant superintendent now. So.
Sorry.
Yeah, for the time being, anyway. Actually, I have some advice for Carol. Coach wasn't able to beat Coach Miller in racquetball until that incident happened with the masks, and that was a broken nose. Golf, I'm thinking of a parallel there. Okay, all right. We wouldn't encourage spouse abuse. The story behind me becoming Dick's first assistant was that I was a coach at Parchment High School as a freshman coach, and they did away with the freshman program. So my buddy Paul Blacken, who's also here tonight, said, you should call Coach Shilts up. He doesn't have an assistant, and we always thought a lot of his coaching ability. So I called him up and came out and sat in his office, and he said, well, yeah, I'd like to have you. You know, I can't pay you anything. And that was true, but I've never regretted those 2 years. Back in those early days, it was a little bit different. Carol drove the bus to our away games. It was a blue and white bus and had, I think, one row of seats which Coach sat in, and then bean bags around the back. And all the players and I would sit on the bean bags. You remember that?
I do. Yeah, 1 year.
1 year. It moved upward from there, but other than the shorts being quite short, that was a memorable part of that. And actually, that one of those years we reached the state finals, and it was a pretty remarkable run at that time. That was really fun to do that. Coach Schaefer was there, and David Gordon was, I think, there as well. I was asked to come up with some funny stories about Coach, and I tried to think of maybe a time when he was critical of someone, and the most critical I could ever think of you being in any way was you said about a player once, "Golly, he can't guard anybody." That's the best I could do in 2 years. I have fond memories, though, of OER, offensive efficiency rating, DER, defensive efficiency rating, eating pizza from midnight to about 2 in the morning after a game at Coach's house and drinking that Coke that we heard about while we graded out the films. I also remember another one of his quotes that wasn't listed on here, and I'm going to quiz you now, Coach. This quote is about Denny's. Do you remember your quote?
Always open, always off.
Denny's restaurant, always open, always off.
That was not my quote. That was Jeff Tyson's quote. Every time Jeff Tyson, Player of the Year in the MAC in 1976, passed at Denny's, he said, "Always open, always open." I never agreed with him. I liked it. It's a good buy for the money, but I can't. Every time I see the Denny's sign, I think of that. Said it last night, in fact.
Did you really? Well, we were eating at Denny's when he said that. So, no, actually, we were looking for a place to eat, and I said, "Well, Denny's will be open." And he said, "Denny's always open, always awful," and that's where we were. I think you were there too. Anyway, so if that's the worst I can do and add to the quotes, I was really privileged to work with Coach Shilts, and I know that anyone who ever was on one of his teams or was able to work with him came away really enriched. I saw 2 of his former students this week. One was Steve Gibson. He was one of your early Cougar Cagers. I see him quite frequently. I said, "Do you have any stories you want to tell about Coach Shilts? Anything you know, you remember about Coach Shilts?" And he rattled off 2 of these quotes. Now, Steve would have been a Cougar Cager back very early, your age, okay. And then I saw another player that sat on he played, his name is Rick Hurlbrink from Delton, and he now officiates, and I saw him officiating, and I said, "Anything you recall about Coach Shilts you'd like to relate?" He said, "Well, I didn't really play for Coach Shilts. I sat on the bench, but I learned more from Coach Shilts about life than basketball." And I think that that's what most of us would walk away with, that we're really, really enriched that we were able to know the Coach. So thank you for all you've done for people.
Thank you, Rick.
For years.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Rick. Sorry, I didn't mean to diminish you or put you down for your superintendent. I mean, that's pretty darn good. Next, we were going to have Dick's assistant from this year. He had 2 assistants, really. Adam Kerfoot, but he is in the process of moving and getting married, and she won out. Lucky girl. So he couldn't be here tonight. Anyway, he said he'll take Coach out to dinner sometime. I'm going to get in on that one, too. Okay, well, you have to be pushy in this profession to get a dinner or to get somebody to take you to the hospital, for Christ's sake. Okay, I would like Greg Schaefer, who volunteered for the last 2 years. Talk about that no pay, Rick. I don't think he got paid enough to cover his gas mileage from Benton Harbor to here, St. Joe. Greg was played for Dick during the, I think it was 1980-82 seasons. Is that correct? Okay. He's coached at Otsego for 8 years, head coach. He was coach at St. Joe for 11 years. And he was just a real blessing to have with the team this year. And without further ado, Greg Schaefer. I don't know if you want to put it down or put it up there. It's up to you. Right into it. Put the lavalier on. That'll help. Might have to go up higher.
Can everybody hear? As Mrs. Shilts said, I'm filling in for Adam Kerfoot, And as I was walking in the door, expecting a nice, comfortable, relaxing evening, Mrs. Shilts said, "Adam can't be here. Would you mind saying a few words about Coach?" And of course, I can't say no to Mrs. Shilts, and I have no problem talking about Coach Shilts. So I said, sure, no problem, and then I started writing a few notes as I'm eating dinner to try and say a few words as we went. Her instructions were that it was a roast, so try and say something funny. Maybe you could remember a time when he was mean to you. Now, of course, everybody here knows Coach Shilts. I could be thinking for a year and not come up with a time that Coach was mean to me, so I kind of threw that idea out the window early and decided that I would just share a few observations from playing with Coach Shilts many years ago. And then most recently, obviously Coach Perry and I have the same agent because he gave me the same spiel when I talked to him about helping. I'd love to have your help, but there's no money. Come on aboard. And of course, I took the deal just like Coach Perry, and I'm forever thankful that I did. But a couple of observations. I saw Dave Gordon as I was walking in, and fortunately, Dave didn't ask me to go to some function next week and speak. I'm thankful for that, Dave. But it kind of reminded me of running across some of my old teammates, Dave Gordon, Billy Boyle, Jim Hogaboom. From time to time, we would see each other, and we would always comment about how we were thankful that we played for Coach Shilts in the early years. My observation is that Coach Shilts became a much better recruiter as the years went on. When we would come watch his state championship teams and #1 ranked teams and teams that were marching to nationals, we would all just kind of compare notes and just say, boy, it's a good thing we played for him when we did, because I don't think we'd make the team now. And I'm pretty sure that's an accurate statement, and that's a sign that Coach became a better recruiter over the years. Another observation is there's a quote out there that behind every great man, and I think we can all agree that Coach Shilts is a great man amongst us, there's an even better woman. And I happen to think that's a true statement when you think about the Shilts family. I would like anyone to think about a wife that would be willing to drive the bus, keep the book, keep the scoreboard, keep stats, and still run a household with 5 children. And that's what Mrs. Shilts did year after year. And we know she was a big part of Coach Shilts and KVC's success, and all of us that had the good fortune to play for Coach loved Mrs. Shilts, and it was their love for each other that was a great example for their family and everybody that came in contact with them. And then my final observation is just from kind of being around basketball all my life, and I've seen a lot of really good coaches over the years, and those coaches always demand excellence from the people that they worked with. And a lot of those good coaches didn't have much use for players and people that didn't immediately come around to that high standard that they expected. I think the secret to Coach's success and the incredible impact that he's had on everybody that's in this room is his ability to expect excellence out of the people that he leads. And I mean, he expects excellence in every area of our lives. He expects you to work hard, be a good teammate, develop spiritually, be a responsible person. He really, truly believes that each and every one of us can be excellent in all of those areas. And of course, when we first meet Coach Shilts, none of us are. We're not excellent, we're not even close to excellent in any of those areas. I think what makes Coach special is that he has the patience to work with us while we're striving to be excellent in those areas. And because of that, we've all benefited. Because of that, it's an honor for me to call Coach Shilts a friend. And I love you dearly, Coach. Thank you.
Thanks, Greg. I appreciate you, buddy. Thanks for doing that.
Don't forget your Don't be in a hurry. It's not your turn yet. This is so powerful. I just can't believe it. I'm in control for once. I'm going to coach your team, right? Oh, I'm sorry. You don't have one anymore. Okay, I want to thank Greg. Greg Schaefer was one of 3 of the 4 Schaefer boys that played under Dick. So we had an excellent Schaefer history here. In fact, you talk about a couple that have really exemplified basketball. Peg and Jerry Schaefer, would you stand up? This is Greg's mom and dad. Their other 2 sons had previous commitments or they wanted to be here too. But the Schaefers have supported us. Even when one of their sons coached against Coach Schaefer, they still supported us. The next person, okay, this guy's been around, it seems like as long as Dick. Anyway, he is the women's coach, the head women's coach here at Kalamazoo Valley. And just for the heck of it, could all the women who have husbands as coaches stand, or who, if your husband has ever coached, I'd just like to see how many women coaches' wives are out there. Awesome. We're in a league of our own. Should we start our own team? Anyway, I just really appreciate all of you, and a lot of you know what I'm talking about. I am so thankful I do not have to cook another meal for a team, launder any more dirty uniforms, keep any more stats, grading those films. Oh my gosh, is that awful? After we watch the whole game, then we go home for another hour and a half trying to stay awake and watch the whole thing over again. I'm so sick of OER and DER, I could scream. If I ever do that again, just shoot me. I'm telling you. So, I'm retiring too. Anyway, I just wanted to say, Ron, I know your wife Phyllis is here too, and she supports you immensely. And I don't know if I have the years correct. Have you coached here 18 years? 16. Sorry, didn't mean to make you older than you were. That's true. I think they vie for who's the youngest here. But anyway, he's here with Phyllis, and Dick and Ron have worked closely through thick and thin. Ron Welch. Okay, I'm going to hook you up here a little bit too, but I don't know if that'll be as loud as this.
Is this on? Nope.
No, just leave it because Ron, he's taping it like that. So what you don't get through here.
I've never had one of these before.
You're privileged.
You get used to it. If you coach at Kalamazoo Valley, they put you on cable access, and you have to be careful what you say. Really, Carol? 2 minutes?
2 minutes.
2 minutes? I don't do anything in 2 minutes anymore. Yeah. Okay. What a wonderful night. Nice to honor a great man who never lived up to his name with me. Think about that for a minute. You'll get it.
We didn't hear it.
Say it again. We didn't hear it. Hold the mic.
Nice to be here to honor a great man who never lived up to his name with me. His name is Dick Shilts. It'll get to you. It'll get to you. Right? The last couple of years has really been a joy for me working with Coach Shilts. And it's been an education for me technology-wise too, learning how to text, learning how to do Facebook. It's getting to the point now where, particularly if you coach the women, I think more so than the men, where if you don't text or you don't do Facebook, they don't communicate with you. So I'm going to try and share a little bit of some of the things that I've learned over that period of time in my comments tonight. First of all, it's great to see Coach Miller here. I followed you around like a lost puppy dog. You probably don't remember this, but my wife and I, up at Central Michigan, you went up there and won a big ball game on the road at Central Michigan, and we presented you with some T-shirts after the ball game. I don't know whether you remember that. Probably not, Ellen. It's been a long time ago. But that was one of the highlights of my year. Got to shake your hand. She's never really forgiven you for leaving for Ohio State, by the way. But had you not done that, I probably wouldn't have gotten to meet Dick, let alone having the opportunity to work with him for close to 20 years, counting camps and stuff, and becoming very good friends. So, thanks for leaving. And as the kids would say, LOL. Okay? First texting lesson. One of the more memorable experiences that I had with Coach Shilts, and there have been many, I sat down trying to figure this out, and there's been so many. But this one kind of stuck in my mind. He had gone over to Mott. My team was done for the year. In the early years, that happened a lot, didn't it, Coach? Yeah. Everybody okay back there? Anyway, he traveled over to Mott, and unfortunately the game didn't end the way that we all thought it was going to end or wanted it to end. Again, Mott kind of been his nemesis a little bit. And I hate to bring up a sore spot, but anyway, my daughter Jill was with me, and we started on our way back, and we got to Durand, and the car wasn't running very well, so I pulled off and pulled into a gas station, and it stopped, dead. And I had just gotten my first cell phone about 2-3 weeks before that, and I got Coach's phone number in it. And so who did I call? Because he was still in Flint. Ricky, were you on that team? I don't think so. I think that was before you. Anyway, so on the way back from Flint, he stops. They're in 2 vans. His team is in 2 vans because the softball team and the baseball team had taken the cruisers down south. And they picked Jill and I up. So here's myself, and I was fine with it. But my daughter, who at the time was probably 16, 17 years old, had to ride back in a van with a bunch of sweaty basketball players, and she was in her glory. She just loved it. And as the texting people would say now, that's an ROTFL. Roll on the floor laughing. See, now you got to learn this stuff because it's coming. If you don't know it now, it's coming. Okay? One of the other things that I loved about Dick was that didn't happen very often, but every once in a while he would call me into his office and close the door behind us. And I want you to know that what he would say was, the first thing he would say was, Ron, I want you to know that this conversation is not as your friend, it's as your athletic director. And we'd have our discussion, and it was always a learning experience for me. But those of you who have had that opportunity, you walk out of the room knowing that you've just got your butt chewed, but it wasn't all that bad. You actually felt pretty good about it. And that's the way he does, you know, he makes you feel at ease. And that's one of the things that I love about him. Now, those of you who have been around for a while know who Johnny Carson is. And Johnny Carson used to do this thing on his show, and I'm going to try to get you guys to help me with this a little bit, called He's So Old. And your part is going to be, how old is he? All right, let's just try that once. He's so old. How old is he? When God said, let there be light, he turned on the switch. He's so old. How old is he? He has an autographed Bible. He's so old. How old is he? There's a picture of Jesus in his yearbook. He's so old. How old is he? His memory is in black and white. He's so old. His Social Security number is 5. Mine is 6. His first driver's license was carved in rock. He's so old. How old is he? He recalls when the Grand Canyon was just a ditch. I'll spare you the rest of those. I have more here, but we'll move on. Seriously, it's been a wonderful journey for me in a lot of ways. I'm kind of my girls would tell you I'm kind of an emotional little fool. I want to thank you for taking a chance on a rookie. I want to thank you for welcoming this little Catholic boy into your Christian fellowship. I certainly could not have asked for a more supportive, more caring mentor as my college coaching career began. And you always let me do it my way, even though early on, when you win 6 ball games your first year and lose 20 ball games the next year, a lot of places that'll get you fired. But he hung with me, and I think the results have been pretty good lately. Thanks for listening when things weren't going well, and for being our #1 fan when they were. I will always remember you driving down to Johnson County, down at Kansas City, Kansas, for our national tournament. We went into that tournament ranked #2 in the country and ended up losing in the national semifinal game, and Coach was there for me. It was probably one of the most crushing losses I've ever had, but he was there, and that's very much appreciated. I do know that the Lady Cougar program would not be anything close to what it is today if it wasn't for you, and I love you like a brother.
Thank you. I'll miss you. Thanks.
Thank you.
Before we get your clothes off.
Dressed and undressed.
Right. Okay. One of the things Ron did mention was the fact that he said, thanks for letting the little Catholic boy into your Christian fellowship, which reminds me of Dick's favorite charity is the Fellowship of Christian Athletes. And when he was at Western, he tried to have a group there, and when he came here, he started a group both of boys and girls. And one thing that's so wonderful about the Fellowship of Christian Athletes, that it is non-denominational. It doesn't matter what church you go to, that they are out to try to spread the word of Jesus Christ in this world. And they do it through summer camps for young kids, and so they try to raise money each year, which this coming Monday, boy, this is another sad thing. This coming Monday's my birthday, and he's playing 100 holes of golf. And you know what? It's my daughter's birthday, too, the same day. Poor Bridget. Okay, Bridget, we're going to go play 100 holes of golf ourselves. Oh, sorry. Okay. Well, anyway, the Fellowship of Christian Athletes tonight, many of you on your invitations saw that we did not ask for any gifts, that if any of you wanted to make a donation to the Fellowship of Christian Athletes, he usually sends you a letter every year and says, I'm going to play these 100 holes of golf, will you sponsor me? So some of you have already done that. But before we have our last speaker come up, I just wanted to preview that. Mike McGath is here. Mike, would you stand up? He's our representative in the Southwest Michigan chapter of FCA here. He brought some brochures on the table for any of you who would like to learn more about it, if you have any questions about it. It's a great organization. It really has helped a lot of young kids get their lives together. Okay, commercial moment over. Our last speaker that we have as prize after him. Our last speaker is Dick's survivor. He's a young man that played for Dick and coached with him for 5 years right after his playing time. And he is the new head basketball coach at KVCC. And his name is Matt Dennis. Got one more thing, come on. Matt is here with his wife, who is taking pictures all over the place. She's a professional photographer and just wanted to volunteer to take some pictures tonight. That's the kind of family we have. And would you stand up, AJ, so people can see who you are? Okay. If you need any photographs, she's awesome. You'll see her on Facebook. Anyway, it's time for Matt to give us a good story. Ah! I was worried about everybody else, and I screwed up. There we go.
If it still works.
Yeah.
Well, trying to think of things that you could roast Coach Shilts about. I didn't have to wait a whole year, Greg, to figure this out. I learned a lot of things not to do from Coach Shilts. I'm going to share a few of them with you. For the 5 years I spent coaching with him, I had an opportunity not only just to have a great mentor in my life, but just to have a great friend. But he taught me a lot of things to do, but he taught me several not to, and I'm going to share those with you right now. First thing is, after the game is over and you want to go home, and he says, "Are you ready to grade that film?" I smile every time, and sure, I'm ready to grade the film. Then his wife says, "You must be real hungry." And yeah, we are. She said, "I think Taco Bell's still open. You want me to go down there and get some food?" So, of course, we have her go get some food. The problem was, Coach had not turned his cell phone back on since the game was over, and it was middle of December, and she got Taco Bell. They locked the doors at 10 o'clock. We're in there, and about 20 minutes goes by, and Coach says, "I wonder where Carol is." He turns on his phone. I haven't turned my phone on. She had been standing outside in the parking lot for about 20 minutes, waiting for somebody to open the door with our Taco Bell. Cold Taco Bell by the time we got it. So one of the first things I learned not to do is when your wife is doing something real nice for you, don't forget about her. The second thing I learned, when he asks you to go to his house to do stats, say no. Don't go. Because when you go over there, you could be there until 1, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, as one of the other coaches who came up here said that he had been there. I remember that time. I remember sitting there doing the OER and the DER and trying to get out those stats right, and we'd miss one, and we'd have to rewind the game to find out where we missed it. And I'm thinking in my mind, good Lord, Coach, it's one assist. No one's going to notice. But I'm a good assistant, so we better look for that one assist, shouldn't we? Well, then I'm sitting there, and I'm saying, "Did you catch that? Did you see what just happened right there?" And I look over at him. He's sleeping. It was about that time that I started to figure that I could just say, "Coach, it's getting too late. I'll finish this tomorrow. Or we can do this tomorrow in the office." So don't ever fall asleep on your assistant when he's talking to you, okay? That's a lesson I learned right there. When doing camps and you're announcing all of your camp staff and you tell one of them that they're going to get an opportunity to say something real quick, don't keep talking for 20 minutes. Because you took all the camp staff time to say anything. By the time you get around to him, basically you have time to say, "Hi, my name's Matt Dennis. I'll be over in station number 2 if you want to talk to me." That's all you get. The thing the players always came up to me, and as the assistant coach, you get asked a lot of questions that you don't really have an answer to, but you come up with something the best you can. And Ricky, you can attest to that, and any player in here who had Coach Shilts will know this, that Coach Shilts is a professional. We have one more thing. It'd be 5 o'clock, and he'd say, "Guys, we're just about to get out of here. We got one more thing to work on." And then it'd be 10 after 5, and he'd say, "Guys, we're just about to get out of here, but we got one more thing we got to work on." Finally, one of the guys about 5:30 would come up and say, "Coach, when are we going to get out of here?" I said, "I don't have any idea." Usually about 45 minutes after the first one more thing, we were out of the gym. So when you tell your players you have one more thing, just do one more thing. Those are some of the things not to do, but some of the things to do. Never waver in your faith. Coach Shilts is a man of God. That's always first in his life. That's one thing I appreciated. When I came here, I didn't come here as a basketball player who just wanted to play sports. I came here because on his website he talked about the FCA. I grew up in a Christian home and I wanted to play for a Christian coach. And that is what enticed me to look at Kalamazoo Valley. I knew nothing else about it. I was from 3.5 hours away. That was the first thing I saw, and that was the first thing that made me pick up the phone to see if I could come down and play for him. Nothing else. I didn't know his win-loss record. I didn't know anything about him, had never heard of him. But I saw the FCA and what he had on the website. That was pretty powerful. Lead by example. Leonard always tells a story, Leonard, you'll recall this, about the time of Coach Shilts. Coach Shilts was at I believe, a McDonald's with you, and you took the paper with an article in it, you got in the car, and he asked if you had paid for it. And you said, well, I was just going to finish the article, it was just sitting there, I didn't pay for it. Coach Shilts went back in and paid for the paper. Lead by example in everything that you do. Nobody would have noticed that 50 cents. Back then it was probably like 5 cents, but that's been a while ago now.
You still owe me 50 cents, Leonard.
Always tell stories about your assistants that make them look good. It's another thing he taught me. He got up one time and he gave a nice elaborate story about how well I did in the game, and any of you who had ever seen me play knew that I sat about 8th seat on the bench and didn't get in much. But he tells a great story about how I got into the game and I played such an integral part in this game and winning this game. And I looked over and I said, I didn't play in that game. But he made me feel good. The last one, Ricky, I couldn't let you out of this. You're coaching now, and you had to be a little bit of this. Don't be afraid to have your players introduced to the three-point line. It's in the first little bit of practice, and Ricky and I played together for 2 years. And Ricky is known for his shooting ability and sometimes likes to get out there about 40 feet and let him go. Well, he got out there a little too far in practice one day, and Coach Shilts said, come here. And Ricky walks up there and he says, you see this right here? And he points down at that line. He says, I want to introduce you to the three-point line. Three-point line, this is Ricky. Ricky, this is a three-point line. You guys got to meet. He always treated everybody fairly, though, even Ricky. There was no favoritism with him, and that was one way, right away, we knew Ricky was another player on the team. Although he was a son, he was going to be treated as everybody else. And that's the way Coach did it. He treated everybody fairly all the time. Now, the last thing I want to leave with, Greg, you said that his recruiting got better. I have to disagree. Any of the players in here, I'm sorry, Mike Betcher, you're from last year's team, this is no offense to you, but I've noticed his recruiting processes have gotten worse because it didn't take long when I got hired to find out real fast how bad it's gotten, how old he really is. He got a new cell phone, and I must have called him from my wife's phone one day. So he programmed it in as my number. It's still programmed in as my number. Then I gave him my number, and he programmed that in as my number. I bet you AJ has gotten a half a dozen phone calls from coaches wanting to talk to me. And I'm looking for Coach Dennis from Matt. Well, this is his wife. I can give you his number. And then they call me and say, I had a great conversation with your wife. I'm not sure if that's how he recruited all the time when I was his assistant, because sometimes I wondered what was going on. But we need to look at your cell phone, because she doesn't know anything about basketball.
Still wrong.
The best advice that AJ has gotten so far was from Carol. And Carol said to her, now, let me back up just a second. I got hired on a Wednesday. That Wednesday, Coach said, we have open gym tonight. Can you be there? I called around to try to get a babysitter for our two kids because AJ had a previous engagement, and I couldn't find a babysitter. And I said, Coach, I'm either going to have to bring them out with me, and I have a 1-year-old and a 4-year-old. That doesn't go real well all the time for 2 hours in the gym. And I said, I can't find a babysitter. I have to bring them with me or I'm not going to be able to come. He said, let me call you right back. He called me back a few minutes later. He said, can you get out here by 6? Carol will come watch the kids. So my first day, Carol's at my house watching my kids, and I leave to go to basketball to see an open gym with some players. Thank you. But the best advice she gave was when she was leaving the house, and AJ says, I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know that much about basketball. AJ played volleyball and softball in college, and basketball is kind of a foreign language to her. And Carol says, that's the best way to do it. Just play ignorant. Act like you don't know a thing. The Shilts family has been tremendous to me. There's 3 people in my life who have made the biggest impact. And the first one, I can honestly say, is my Savior, Jesus Christ, has had the biggest impact for me. The second person in my life has been my father. And the third person is the man sitting right here. Coach Shilts, from the time I graduated high school to where I am now and for many years to come, you'll be more than a mentor to me. You'll be more than a friend. You'll be someone that I can look up to and I can pick up the phone whenever I need anything. People say, how hard is it going to be the next coach out there? When you got a friend like this, it's not going to be that hard, because you know he's going to be there. Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you. Very well.
Wow, is KVCC lucky?
We are going to have a duplicate Dick Shilts. We love you too, Matt. I can't say enough about Matt. As you can see, his integrity is just as great as it is. We've been fortunate to know them too, and they got 2 cute kids. Okay, it's kind of going to try and wrap this up, but there's going to be an open mic session now, and this is how they usually do it at SCA. It's a little different at SCA camp. Kids who've usually been at camp come and tell what that experience has been for them at camp that whole week. And they share just a little bit of open mic. Now, here's the deal. You are allowed to say anything you want up to 2 minutes. When you go past 2 minutes,
Uh-oh.
and you hear that, if you've gone over 2 minutes with your comments, you need to make a donation to the FCA camp. So, okay, so once you make your donation, if you have something more you gotta say, we'll let you have that because you want time on the mic, okay? There were a few people here that told me that they wanted to have a chance to say something. So, this is your chance. Is Robin Evans here? Come on, Frank. I don't know if she made it or not. She was the one that told me she wanted to. Oh, okay. All right. This is our brother-in-law, and he's usually the very quietest person in the world.
I still am. I just got a couple things to say. You know, I didn't know Dick back when he was just a wee lad. Matter of fact, I courted his sister, his older sister, I should say. So I go down to see her, and he talked me into going out in the backyard to play basketball, still on Pearl Street. He had a basketball court up on the garage, and we just got to play basketball. I knew he was going to be pretty good. So every time I went down, he always talked me into going to play basketball. Anyway, I got her one New Year's Eve. And we was out shooting around. So what he said, keep track of time, but I want to make the first basket of the new year. And he did. 12:01. Now I'll tell you that story about a little later on. That September, he had to take a month off for school. So he sets up a trip, buys a new riverboat, we're going to go fishing. We go up to Manistee. He got a cabin in it, there were 3 couples of us, him and Wyatt, Dick and Carol, and his cousin and her husband. So we go out fishing. He's got all the baits, he knows what to do. What are you laughing for? throw backwards, we throw forwards, we throw out the new boat, we throw out the anchor, let it float down the river. Finally, Ricky comes up, switches the bait, and he catches the big fish caught that week. Puts the name on the billboard down the road and everything. So that's one thing the kids got to learn is how to fish and how to change baits. Thank you.
I know this guy. Before everybody leaves too, I really screwed up. I don't know if you noticed in your program or not, the presentation by the state representative. Well, I was up here laughing so hard, I forgot. So after Dave speaks, we will have Derek Robinson come up and make the presentation from our state representative, David Selman.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Coach Dave Sutton. I coached the last, well, I retired 2 years ago. I coached for 18 years against Coach Shilts. I think I've been on one game here in Kalamazoo. When Carol called me up, we talked. Well, she left several messages for me. I apologize. I was out of town. I couldn't get back to her. But I wasn't missing this for the world. Dick is just an outstanding person. His wife is equally as outstanding. I just recently got married. Robert, raise your hand. That's my wife. My wife and I connected after 20 years of being, she lives on Atlanta. We met at Grand Rapids Community College. Reconnected after 20 years. I tried to coach 1 year being married. I put off being married for a long time. I tried to coach 1 year. My wife came home one day after being on the road, and she told me, she says, she came in from Atlanta, she said, Dave, this isn't for work. That's not going to work. So I have a lot of respect for what you've done. Coach Shilts, call her Coach too. But hey, the family, Kalamazoo, this is a great guy. We love him in Grand Rapids. We try to be here every time he comes here. We're glad. Well, we're getting to coach in Grand Rapids too, so Matt, you're not alone. Coach Shilts, thanks for being, he's always been there for me. When I came in as a very young coach and had some success, and he's always been a person to say, even though we're number one in the nation, he told me, he said, stay humble. And that's stayed with me. I left basketball to take an administrative job. And it's really working out well, but I have a staff now of 28 people, and I tell you what, all the things I learned as a basketball coach has really paid off for me as an administrator. So I wouldn't trade that for the world. Also, I want to say something about Coach Paxton back there. I know it's Coach Shilts' retirement, but man, he's good to me, and I've never had a chance to say this about you, but he's good to me, what Coach Shilts has been to me. Thank you.
Derek, can you come forward? I am so sorry, I apologize. I am very inexperienced at this. I'll never do it again.
Next retirement.
I am Derek Robinson. I work for Representative Mark O'Brien. She had a family friend wedding to go to tonight, so she apologized for not being here now, but she was here earlier. We really appreciate what you've done for Kalamazoo and the surrounding area. She had a quote show me to read from her. She said, "Thank you for using your talents God gave you to enter our community. Your legacy of Christian compassion and stewardship will be passed down to the kids and young adults you have mentored onto the community and family." Now, I have a little bit more connection with Coach Shilts, besides working for Rick O'Brien. My father, Doug Robinson, helped coach basketball camps for a number of years here. I was a part of a couple of the camps myself, and my favorite quote was from my first day no violations against your program. I don't know what's more amazing than 700 wins or not getting caught. I know you never cheated, but you probably should have been Western. But we're here tonight to honor you, and this kind of gives a biography of you, somehow we fit it on the page. We would probably use 10, but we're only allowed to do 1. This is Simon Representative O'Brien. She represents the western half of Kalamazoo County. Representative John McCain represents the city of Kalamazoo. Senator Tommy Shoemaker, and Governor Rick Snyder. So once again, we appreciate all you've done, and we'll continue to do. I know you will stay busy. One more thing. Next time the representative and I are in Langston, can we borrow this and run it?
That's a great idea. Just remember, whatever you say, Dick's going to get the last word tonight, so he's going to refute or rebuttal or whatever, or defend what you might have said about it. Okay? Mike Ingram from Lansing Community College, head coach there.
Hey, Coach, congratulations. I have really funny stories about Coach. He's been a great friend, especially over the past few years. The first years were kind of rough, but they kept calling me. Well, number one, I don't know how many coaches are in the league that actually played against him and then coach. I'm one of those guys. But they kept calling me and said, Mike, you're coming, you're coming. I didn't know why they wanted me to come so bad. Then I was sitting here watching the video, and all his big victories were against me. And then I got to thinking, and I said, number 400 was against me, number 500 was against me, and number 700 was against me. Now I know why. A great family. I didn't know his family was this big. I just know Bridget and Ricky. I thought my family grew up with his. And but I just want to say congratulations. I want to say congratulations to Ms. Shilts. She always puts her hand out to shake my hand before games. I always say no and a hug. You know what I mean? Then Coach always shakes my hand right before the game. I always hate that. But I do want to say congratulations, and I truly am going to miss a great coach and a great friend, a mentor. I got sick last year, and I think for 3 weeks before I had surgery, he was sending me a verse every day, and then a couple of days afterwards. I really appreciated that. I think he's the first person that I told outside of my family that I had got sick. So congratulations, Coach.
Okay, if nobody else, should we give the man of the hour a chance to say something?
Yeah!
Wait. There is a person coming up. One person I do want to say was his assistant coach, the longest of any assistant coach ever here at this college, Leonard Jordan. You want me to bring you the mic?
No, I'm not saying anything. Hey, guys.
Okay, that's fine. He's been so loyal. What a friend. Okay. Brock Campbell from FCA representative is here.
It is a privilege to be here. It has been my opportunity to serve with Coach Shilts through the Fellowship of Christian Athletes for the last 22 years. Dick was on the state board that took a chance to hire me, so I can relate to what Matt was saying. And as a rookie, it was great to be with Dick and be able know, you serve alongside him, and I have the highest regard for him as a man of his faith. I've seen him in basketball live out his faith. I've seen him in camps do that. I've seen him on the golf course do that. Probably the greatest example of forgiveness came, though, when 2 years ago I invited Dick to speak at the Athletic Directors Conference in Traverse City. I got up to introduce him, and I introduced Dick very well, and then I introduced his wife, Kathy. Dick forgave me. I don't think she has yet. But on behalf of the Fellowship of Christian Athletes, Dick, the lives that you've impacted over the past 40-plus years of coaching, I couldn't help but think as we came in tonight, this is kind of a miniature glimpse of what heaven is going to be like. When there are going to be people who will come before you and say, Coach, thank you for planting the seeds of faith that got me in return. Coach, thank you.
Okay. One of my great guys. This is Terry, our nurse. Okay, 30 seconds. This is a representative from the family here, but Sherry. But anyways, my encouragement and the interesting thing about my dad living in a coach's household growing up, my dad was amazing because I'm telling you what, we would go, he got 5 kids now, remember, and he's running on a coach's salary, so you call it, he's not older than the big ones. He would go to Dairy Queen, and he would get us all excited about going to Dairy Queen. And we're like, all right, let's go to Dairy Queen. And guess what? Dilly bars are 6-packs. He didn't want to pay for anything but a dilly bar. That was it. But he made it so exciting and encouraged us that we thought dilly bars were the only thing that ice cream has ever made of, the greatest thing in the world. We go to McDonald's, 69-cent hamburgers, that's all I thought McDonald's even had. So, you know, the encouragement as kids that has just everything in our lives. We were just so encouraged for whatever we wanted to be. It didn't even have to be in sports. He encouraged us just to love God and to be the best people that we could possibly be. And I thank you, and I know all of our people thank you. Okay, good. Sorry.
She did it, and I had to do a little ad. Sorry for my voice. Hey, I just want to add to that. He always had this guilt. And for all of you that are coaches out there who worry about traveling and being away from your family and how much time you're giving to everybody else, and, you know, that guilt. You guys know what I'm talking about? Some of you do. He always had this guilt and never gave us enough time. He wasn't home enough, and then, you know, he wasn't a good enough dad, or he didn't do enough for us. Well, I'm here to tell you that he was the best dad and the best person, because look at all the love that I see in this room tonight. And as a mom, growing up now and having my own children, and seeing my husband and I both trying really hard to raise our families and to give to the world and to give to other people and balance that against having a family ourselves, I realize how ultimately important it is to be the human being that my dad was, and that he is, and the example that he is. And he didn't show us it all, did. He gave us everything we ever needed, and we all are who we are because of you.
I was a disciplinarian. Well, good. Look at this. Yeah, this is our shy room. And the middle of the gathering, actually. My story about my dad is a little bit different. I've probably been an experience I don't think anyone else in this room has with him. And it's one of the most memorable ones of my teenage years. I was really a good teenager. Remember that? I remember sitting at our dining room table, and I don't even know what he caught me doing. It wasn't good, whatever it was. And
turned into a sailor when it produced it. Every swear word you've ever heard came out of his mouth, slamming his hands on the table, and I was looking at him like about to burst into tears, going, oh my gosh, what just happened? What did I die? What happened? He's like, takes a big breath, and it went on probably 30 minutes. And I really didn't know you knew what swear words, especially that, and I'll bring out. And he just looks at me and he's like, wow, do you feel better now? No, I don't at all. He's like, yeah, so maybe you should clean up your act. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. He has an amazing gift with teenagers, and I am proud of the fact that he used that for so many years. And I'm happy to be here and that we had that moment. I will never forget it. Thanks.
I didn't know you swore. Did you swear at one time? No? I didn't hear it. There goes that. I know it's not. Okay. Here comes Bill Sanders. Now, he is a professional speaker, so you ought to have a good story.
You know what I asked Holly coming over here, I said, it's a retirement party. She said, no, it's a roast. I go, everyone we know we can roast. How do you roast? Nothing bad. How do you roast? This isn't a roast. This is so far from a roast. It's just, there's no way to roast you. It's like, how hard would it be to this? I always thought you guys were just such great parents because your kids are so happy. I found out tonight it's because you're never home. How bad would it be? Like the worst thing you ever heard could be, that's awful, son. Well, I'll tell you this, I just want to say, I thought of something tonight, how you were mean to me. Because he said, don't be mean. He sent me all these pictures. Him and Ricky with the fish. This pastor, I found a little story of that, holding up the fish. All these people come up with me, we're going to go fishing. It was the worst experience of my entire life. We froze to death, we never got a fight. I wanted to hang out with you, Nick, but can we just have breakfast next time? That's just what I wanted to do, but I tell you what, that was me. I do have to tell you how I met Nick Shilts because this is who he is. He just lost his job with us. We were at Wing Stadium in a big rally with a bunch of big name speakers, one of those motivational rallies. I was one of them, moved in, I was behind the ticket counter. I had never met, just saw his picture. And he had his head down and he put his money in there, and I said, your money's no good here, Coach, and I gave him the ticket. I didn't know where that was. God did. He was in the fourth or third row of the arena with 6,000 people, right with my family. He was in the front row in front of me next to a 70-year-old friend of mine that came from Florida. And during that talk, while we were watching one of the presenters, my friend, we don't know either it was a heart attack or a mild stroke or something, but Dick instantly acted, told me, get over here. I jumped over, this is all during the talk. We grabbed him, we took him off to the side, and Dick kept my friend alive until the paramedics got there. That's why we've been pretty good friends ever since the get-go. But you know, we talk about you have more time to fish and golf, and there's golfers and there's fishermen. There's fishermen who are golfers and golfers who are, here's how you can tell. We're on the 18th hole at Mullenhurst. 7:30 at night, it's dusk, it's a beautiful evening. And I said, okay, Dick, we had to walk around a little pond. I said, if you could just par this hole for 65, it's like 700 par. Or there was a trophy big mouth bass in this little pond. What would you do? He said, I would throw these stinking clubs down so fast your head would spin. That's the fisherman for you.
Michael Tillman. He played for Dick. He's a player. Now you're going to tell me what, you tell everybody what you're doing. Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right, my name is Michael Tillman. I played for Coach Shilts 2006 to 2008. And I just wanted to come and express my love to him, tell him congratulations. He has been a blessing to me and my wife. He actually drove down to my wedding, or our wedding, and had to drive. And I think we had a game that day. And he left the game early to make it to our wedding. And I think out of all the coaches that I played for, he was the only one that showed up. And that really, touched my heart. I don't really have any horror stories with coach. Except one. I was working with basketball camp with Coach on Coop camps in the summer, and I was supposed to speak to the kids. And so, a couple days before, we had like Coach Smith and Coach Foster speak, and he was talking about how great these guys were. How Coach Smith has been in his life for years. When he got to meet that day, he said, "Yeah, Mike wasn't that talented." I don't think he could have said he said I wasn't talented, but he ended up saying that I was the most hard work dedicated guy here for his coach, so that, broke even. So I just need to tell you that you should let me know that I love you.
Here comes radar.
You almost made it. Okay, after Ricky, I think we'll let Dick speak, because some of you have to go to the bathroom, I'm sure. I can get up. So, Ricky, can just give it to your dad in a minute.
Oh, come on.
Everyone knows I can say a ton. It is not a surprise that to anyone here probably who knows about our relationship. We've always been pretty close. He's always been there for me when I needed him. He's never been an overbearing father who pushed me, contrary to what maybe our society tells us. You need to be good. He always just said, do the best you can. I love you when it was pretty simple words from a pretty simple man, but they ring true, they ring home. And this night's about him, and I know him well enough to know that he would want it to be about you all. Just looking around here, seeing all your faces again. You touched his life, our families, touched my life. And if there's one thing we can all learn tonight, it's that love can conquer all. Amen?
I've done pretty good for that. Is there anything on the back? No, there's I was saying, oh, that's right. There it is, that one's full. Thanks. I was thinking when we started getting all these applications, people that were coming, I thought, wow, I can't even begin to introduce everybody, because I'll be introducing everybody. But
everybody who's been so important in my life that are here. So forgive me for not taking the time to introduce each one of you. I do have a couple of immediate family. I think one of the things that happens to us when we get older, one of the great things that happens is that the older we've gotten in this business, at least, you know more people. And isn't that true, Ellen? I mean, Ellen went from, can you imagine going from Wittenberg University in Springfield, Ohio, Western Michigan for 6 years, Ohio State for 10 years. They had a few fans in Ohio, I'm sure for Ohio State, by the way. And then University of Northern Iowa, and playing as well as they did in the final. Imagine how many friends he's got when we talk about just Western Michigan University, Kalamazoo Community College. But I do have one opportunity that he hasn't had. We're a 2-year school. So I get to know twice as many people every 4 years. That's what he's got. But I think of all the different things that could have happened in my life. I wouldn't be standing here tonight without your original invitation to come with you to Michigan to coach at Western Michigan. Not only were you a great mentor for me, certainly influenced by Coach Mears, I was too, but all these great things that have happened to me over the last 40 years are because you invited us to come to Kalamazoo. So when we drove into Kalamazoo, in fact, we had a nice Rambler. Everybody remember the nice Ramblers? We had a nice Rambler. We were pulling a U-Haul, and Larry Quarles, who later became my assistant in Western, I recruited Larry to go to Akron. And then I told Eldon about a month later that I could coach him. Larry said, Coach, I'm not going to Akron. I want to play for you. And I said, you can't do that because you signed the national letter of intent to go to Akron. So he was really upset with me, but he agreed to help us move. So he's driving my nice Rambler on the Ohio Turnpike, and we're in the U-Haul with everything we own. And no place to go except Eleanor's garage over in Arcadia neighborhood. And I look at the rearview mirror, and that nice Rambler was just, it looked like they were just Blue's engine. I was just all involved in smoke. And I look back and I said, Gerald, I don't think Larry's going to make it. And he didn't. We left the Rambler, Ohio Turnpike. Took us about 2 days to move our stuff up here. Later sold it by yard to a junk company for $50 to come and get it out of my yard. And we put all of our belongings in Eleanor's garage. That was in 1970, fall of '69. And it was, I thought then, Carol, did we just make the dumbest move we've ever made in our lives, or was this a good move? And 6 years with Ellen, you know, people think that we had great teams right away. We were 8-18 the first year at Western, 13-13 the second year, 16-10 the third, so we thought things were getting better. And then we had that breakout year, 25-3 with all those guys that were starters. And then, as Elvin said, 6 of those 7 guys left. He went to Ohio State, and I got to play the guys that were on the bench the next 2 years. Fortunately, with Tom Cutter, we had one back that was really an outstanding player back. But we slipped. But I still think of that decision that I made to come to Kalamazoo and how my life could have been different. And then the other decision that I'll never know was when he said, if you want to go with me to Ohio State, you can. And of course, I wanted to be a head coach, so that for me was not really an option. I said, well, I will go if they don't want me to talk to us. And they had simultaneous press conferences at Ohio State, Kalamazoo, and I stayed at Western. And wow, 2 years in Kalamazoo Valley, I could write 5 chapters of a book on the lessons that came my way right away. Starting with a man named Lynn Bridge, who had Lou Gehrig's disease, who was an economics teacher here. I would never have met Lynn Bridge if I'd stayed at Western. Lynn Bridge was given 1.5 years to live. He was a charismatic Catholic. He was a former golf coach here, an outstanding golfer. I never saw him swing a golf ball because he had Lou Gehrig's disease when I met him. He was given 1.5 years to live. I watched him live 5.5 years, finally in a wheelchair after 3 years. He traveled around the state. I was the state president of the Fellowship of Christian Athletes, and he influenced and touched the hearts of people around the state. And I was there as a friend, observing this man of God, teaching us how to die, not just how to live. What an impact. And then I backed away from that and I said, you know what, if I had been at Western Michigan, I would have met Lynn Bridge. And then I started the Mike McKinley's and Nico Denny's and Nell Smith's and Floyd Fostons, and then you've seen several people come up here.
I wouldn't even know those people had I not been in Kalamazoo Valley Community College. It's been a great experience for me to coach at Kalamazoo Valley for as long as I have. How many other Division I coaches when they get fired can stay in the same community and coach for 32 years? I dare you to find one. I don't know if any other Division I coach has been fired that's continued coaching at the college level for 32 years in the same community. Most communities don't even have another college you can coach at if you got fired. Meeting people like Troy Love, Bill Rogan, Andy Lehman, Carol Anderson, Kirk and Carol. I wouldn't know where to stop if I started talking about the blessings that have been in my life. David Selma did play basketball here. I was invited to Gene Paxton's retirement several years ago. I went out there and told some really nasty stories about David and Gene. Because David lost to us when he was playing, he was mad at Gene, and we were there roasting Gene Paxton. And David replaced him as the coach at Grand Rapids. And Gene thought David was really loyal to him. And I said, Gene, here's how loyal he was. The night we beat you, we went to Burger King, David came over there and sat down with me and said he wanted to transfer. Now that's a true story. And Gene looked at him kind of funny. Of course, they're great friends now. David Selma was a terrific basketball coach. 18 years, Mike Ingram at Lansing Community College, terrific basketball coaches. Every time we played them, we knew we had to really be at the top of our game to even have a chance to beat them. But what a great experience that was. And the longer I coached at Kalamazoo Valley, the more I began to realize that the games that we keep scoring, that the paper writes about, are not what this experience is all about. The experience is all about the growth that you see in the people that are playing for you. And that's what motivated me back in Wadsworth. I don't think I understood that as clearly in Wadsworth as I do today. But when I see young men that played and come back, and we must have gotten 100 letters from people already that couldn't be here tonight. People that haven't communicated with me for the last 8-10 years. One of them is an automobile mechanic today. You know what he used to do? He was the 12th man on our team here the second year I was here. But he had a gift for music. And he wanted to sing the national anthem. And he did. And I hadn't heard from him in 30-some years. And he saw on the website that I was retiring. He writes me a 2-page letter about he's coaching his kids today. And everything he knows about coaching he learned from me. Goodness, he never played. When he left here, I thought he was angry at me. The only thing I let him do was sing the national anthem. And he's talking about what a great experience he had at Kalamazoo Valley. And that made me realize, sure, I love to win. When I finally did beat Elvin in racquetball, I did have to break his nose to do it. So I'm really bad about that, Elvin. I really still feel bad about that. But you did interfere with my back. I'll tell you how tough he is. He slid against the wall in racquetball court, fell down, blood poured out of his nose, put his thumb up. I could hear it. His nose flat. And then he's trying to get up, and I said, I suppose you want to quit now. And he said, yeah, probably not quit. His blood still pouring out. He didn't want to quit. He wanted to keep playing. Phil, what a great time we had at Wadsworth. What a great time. This was a tough time. It's just like a tough time today. If you recall all the things that happened in the 60s. Kennedy's assassination in 63 was the year we were 26-2 at Wittenberg. Played in the national championship game. 1967, Martin Luther King. That was my second year of coaching. 1968, Bobby Kennedy was assassinated on national television. Those were tough days. Those were tough days for all of us. I want to share something that I pulled off the internet. Technology is so wonderful today, and I know so little about it, but I'm learning. I'm picking up more and more things. But I want to share something that I know you've heard before. It's 30 seconds long, and I think if I fixed it up, I will be able to hear it. I'm going to share this with you.
My brother need not be
fantastic. It's about 17 minutes long. Those things touched our hearts in those days. I was 25 years old, just getting into coaching as a head coach in high school, and one of our national leaders, regardless of which party he was for, was assassinated, just like his brother had been 5 years earlier. And there's a man that comes on his brother Ted, says that, and I thought of that when we were getting ready for this today, and I thought to myself, I really, with apologies probably to the Kennedy family, but I want to say to each of you that I need not be idolized or enlarged in retirement beyond what I am in life. To be remembered simply as a fair and decent coach who loved basketball and tried to teach it, who saw young people and tried to help them, who loved God and tried to serve them. That's how I want to be remembered. What are the odds of my 700th win coming on the last game in the district championship? I mean, just the odds of that happening have to be astronomical. And then we're playing Lansing, a powerful team in our conference. I'm going down to that game thinking it's, it's up to you, God. We got a great bunch of guys. I love Coach. I'm going to love them as much to get beat as I do for the win. But I do want to say a personal thanks to you, Ricky, because you don't realize what a critical role you played in the 700 wins this year. That win, which was our last one this year, would have been $6.99 if we hadn't beaten Ricky's team. Now JD's in this gym over here on December 1st, 2010. But there are so many things that go into that. I know you forgive me for that, Ricky, but there are so many others too that you can think about. Had somebody come up and ask me, did that include the one that you were in the hospital for the back surgery? And I checked back and we lost that one. Matt, you were coaching me. Nice job.
He tried.
In fact, Bridget called me. I just had back surgery that day, and she called me and said, Dad, you're up 1 for 37 seconds at tar ball. And I was still kind of walking from the surgery, and I said, well, let me know. She's going to call me back. I wake up the next morning and said, did we win or not? And I finally found out we didn't win. That's why she didn't call me back. Big turnover in court. Matt filled me in on all that happened. So we got beaten. That was Grand Rapids. There are so many ups and downs, and it's really hard. It's beginning to settle in with me that when the Cougars start next year, I will be on the sideline coaching them. But it's the passage of life for all of us, isn't it? Steve Hennigan over here, Coach of Lake Superior State. Roy Love's wonderful career here, 4-point student. Ryan Cottingham, the Spring Arbor head coach, is here. Mark Drew, a wonderful career at Gull Lake already. Still early in his career, really. Still kind of early, but Mark probably, maybe middle. Marvel Scott at Gull Lake. Jim Van Zandt sitting back there against the wall. I picked up Jim and the women's tennis team here at 1:27 this morning in the Detroit airport, coming back from the National Women's Tennis Tournament. They were rerouted from Chicago. I was supposed to get into Grand Rapids at 10 points, so I thought I was going to get a lot of sleep. Well, they couldn't land in Chicago, so they routed back. But we made it in the gym. We got home here at, I got here at 5 a.m. this morning, but the girls were all safe. Women's tennis program here. Jim's done a fabulous job. Just named last Sunday to the NJCAA Women's Tennis Hall of Fame. Congratulations. I have 2 sisters here that when things start happening as we get older in life, Carol and I both lost both of our parents over a 4 or 5 year period here recently. And all of my family, all the relatives are telling my older sister that you're the matriarch of the family. And then it suddenly hit me that I'm the only boy left in the family. There were 4 of us. My brother was killed when he was 52, just about 6 years ago in a paragliding accident. And with Mom and Dad gone now, and I have 2 sisters left, and that's all of the Shilts family who grew up in New Paris. And I'm going to introduce them. Judy's my older sister, and Maggie's my younger sister. But the kids have said so many nice things when they came up here. You want to know where the caring and the mentoring and the love starts. It starts
mother's arms. And we have a mother that shows how to love. And that's where it all begins. And I couldn't stop, I couldn't finish the night without saying this to you. My wife, I just got out of the way of this. She told me what was going to happen, and she told me, I don't care what you think. This is the way it's going to be. And I said, yes, ma'am. This lady, at our banquet a few weeks ago, I gave her a present at our banquet. It was a letter that she probably had framed. And it said, I promise never to ask you to drive the bus again. I promise never to ask you to videotape the game. I promise never to ask you to keep OER and DDR. You heard those mentioned. And this woman has been behind every single thing that I have done for 46 years. She was my high school sweetheart, and she was behind every single thing that I've done. I'm looking forward to having some time where we can travel and do some things. At first we're afraid we found out what it costs to go to Alaska. We're going to run out of money real quick, so I'll probably be back here for you. That's all I want back. It's kind of neat to kind of look at some of those things that we can do, and I just feel that my life at Calhoun Valley has been among the most blessed. There's a pastor's table down here. These are all men that are just, dear men of God that have been inspirations to all of us. And again, I could just bounce around, just I see your name, Chip Ayers here, Dad Lake Bear, from Edison Community College in Pickle, Ohio, and he made it a point to come up here. Ron Winter is an NFL football official, and he's here. Pat Clydesdale, Associate Athletic Director of Western Michigan, great athlete there for the years I was there. Great mentors, great people, and great leaders. Before I wrap this up, I want to say to all of you here that KDCC basketball is in good hands. Matt Dennis is the right person. We have some great candidates for this position, but Matt Dennis is the right person to carry this forward, because his heart is in the right place. He knows the game, but he loves kids. And he'll work with people to help them get better. And he'll do it in a godly way. And I feel really good and really proud that KCC has Matt Dennis as his next coach. Okay, I'm going to end this thing. I hope it's not too long of line in the restrooms, and I'm going to end this thing now so that we can move on. Mark People, where's Mark People? He's still here, right?
Yes.
Mark, God bless your soul. The guy's the best shot clock operator this side of Mississippi.
I want to thank you for supporting my family. I'm doing my testimony.
He has done a wonderful job. Tom Carson videotaped for us. He's videotaped now for what, 18 years, Tom? 20? This is like easy to set all this stuff up. He does it and does such a fabulous job with it. I want to take a look at these top 10 all-time quotes because I have picked these from about 150 pages of quotes. And I just want to tell you one quick thing about them as I go through them. Number 10, we move in the direction of our currently dominant thoughts. Bill Sanders, I think that goes back to 1979 and that seminar, that motivation seminar at Wing Stadium that you were talking about. Dennis Whaley, we move in the direction of our currently dominant thoughts. The Bible was way before that, as we think so we are, but it's still a modern explanation of that. Number 9, humility is thinking more of others, not thinking less of ourselves. I love that because I think a lot of people think if I'm humble, I have to be down on myself. I think humility is thinking more of others, not thinking less of ourselves. 8 has already been referred to. I love that. I don't know where I heard it first, but who's giving me credit for saying it. That's why I don't have a name down there. But it really is true. People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. Hills Brown said, work is love made visible. My work in Calhoun Valley has been an act of love. That's what's kept me going. That's what keeps us all going, I think. Fred Edgar sitting out here, who's coached baseball at Western for many years, and All-American baseball there. Danny Barowitz, who's coached at Boston High School. Ken Jackson, God bless you, Ken. Ken's back from Chicago. I've worked many years at camps and made a special point to be here tonight. He was the principal over at Warren Norris, has coached me over to the state championship team. God has placed wonderful, wonderful people in my life. Glenn Donahue, the man is older than I am, believe it or not, and he's still coaching. 70, I don't want to tell him how old, but he told me today that he's been coaching for 53
3 years. He made me kind of embarrassed to be retiring at 46. I took one look at my wife and said, I'm still going to do it. I can't convince me. There's a guy that I met in Hutchinson, Kansas. And they had a hotel room. He and the athletic director from Kellogg. I was coaching a Western out recruiting the National Junior College Finals. And I didn't have a place to stay. And Glenn saw me in the lobby and he knew me. He said, Dick, you stay with us. So I went up in the room and there were 2 little beds. And he says, I'll take the springs. That's what he means, springs. He said, I'm going to sleep on the springs. He took the mattress off the bed. It was an old motel. Gave me the mattress to lie on the floor, and he slept on the springs that night. I remember that forever. Then bring the Highland Park team there, 6-10 front line, and beat the crap out of it. Great coach, great man. Number 6, when we appreciate what we have, it always becomes more. When we belittle what we have, it always becomes less. I couldn't find this book in print anymore, but Dr. David Good, but I don't know anything about him, but I know that what he said is true. One of John Wood's favorites, things turn out best for those who make the best of the way things turn out. He never one of us here to talk about how best things turn in our lives. 4, I love this one. Joy shared is joy doubled. Sorrow shared is sorrow halved. How many times have you been there for someone in sorrow and see you make that sorrow really easy? Number 3, I had to start using this again in camp because I loved it so much back in the early 80s, actually mid-70s. Talent is God-given, be humble. Fame is man-given, be thankful. Conceit is self-given, be careful. I just love the simplicity of it. If John was given credit for it, he probably would have said it, somebody else said it first. But I think humility is a lost quality in athletics today. I think of Moby Benedict, baseball coach at Michigan, Fellowship of Christian Athletes, saying, you know what we need to do with fame? We need to be thankful for it, but we need to recognize it. I remember him screaming out over a bunch of 200 high school kids. He screamed these words, you know what they do in yesterday's newspapers? You know what they do in yesterday's newspapers? All these kids are backing away from him, and I think, wow, this is a Division I baseball, but people get into it. I don't know if Bernie remembers this or not. Moby Benedict said, I just came from a fish market downtown. They buried dead fish in yesterday's newspapers. They buried dead fish in yesterday's newspaper. You know what? I started looking around. That's what they do. Fish markets let that fish lie there on that ice, and at the end of the day, they don't sell it. They can't freeze it again, so they actually wrap it up. And if you've ever wrapped up garbage, you notice you just look, oh, there's my picture. And you're wrapping it up, and then you're fishing it out. That's what they do with yesterday's newspapers. And then I love number 2. What we do is scream so loud that others cannot hear what we say. That's a challenge for all of us, isn't it? And then the last one's out of Proverbs. And this is my all-time favorite. I don't think my family even knows this. Above all else, guard your heart, for it is the wellspring of life. One scripture, the translation says the source of life. I really believe that when we do things that are worthwhile, it's because of the condition in our heart. And that's what makes me feel so good about all of you that are here today. I think it's true in our families, I think it's true in our teams, I think it's true in our schools, I think it's true in our country, I think it's true in our world. Above all else, guard your heart, for it is the wellspring of life. I want to thank every one of you for coming tonight. This has just been a wonderful time. I'll never forget it. Tom's taped it all, so I'm laying there in a hospital room or a nursing home or wherever it is someday. I'll say, give me that